Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about multifamily mistakes that I've made. For those of you who don't know, I currently own 90 units of real estate, two apartment complexes, a 26 unit and a 20 unit apartment complex in Oklahoma City. Both of these are value add real estate deals that I bought off market using direct mail and PropStream for my data. If you want links to PropStream as well as a link to Yellow Letters Complete, which does my outsourced mailers for me, check out the link down below. But I've owned these two apartment complexes as well as a mobile home park for about a year and a half to 2 years now, and I've made a lot of mistakes along the way that cost me thousands of dollars, if not hundreds, or if not tens of thousands of dollars. So hopefully that you can learn from my mistakes and not make the same mistake as me. So let's dive into it. So let's talk about mistakes to avoid. So I want to talk about this in a negative context because unfortunately, our brains are wired to process information and remember information when it's negative instead of positive. That's why I'm talking about mistakes to avoid. So the first mistake to avoid is number one, overpaying for the apartment complex. So for me, when you're trying to find an on-market deal through LoopNet, Crexi, or maybe it's a pocket listing from a broker, unfortunately, you always end up overpaying for the apartment complex, right? And the reason for that is you make an offer, and the way I make an offer is the three method approach. The first one is a price per unit. So, for example, it could be $50,000 per unit. The net operating income divided by the market cap rate. So, simple math. Let's just say the net operating income is 100,000, and the market cap rate's 8%. Then you just do 100,000 divided by 0.08, and that is your value. And the last one is the tax assessed price. So the tax assessed price is typically going to be the cheapest offer point. That's where I typically start. And then the price per unit and net operating income divided by market cap rate. That's typically going to be your higher offer prices. So what happens with on-market deals is you make an offer that makes sense for you. And what happens is the broker comes back and says, counter offer, best and final. You raise your price. Once again, the broker says, counter offer, best and final. Raise your price. Once again, counter offer, best and final. And you start to see the trend here, right? You constantly have to raise your price over and over and over again to the point where you're massively overpaying for the property. And at that point, you may not even be able to finance the deal, or it just doesn't make sense for you in terms of a cash flow perspective where you're negative cash flow day one. So what I always advocate to my students in my course as well on the channel is do not overpay for the apartment complex. Make an offer that makes sense to you and only you for your situation. So if you're doing a 1031 exchange and you want to defer $1 million worth of capital gains tax, at that point, it might make sense for you to slightly overpay for the apartment complex and you'll be slightly less leveraged, right? Because you're putting in a bunch of money into the deal. In that case, okay, it may make sense for you to overpay for the apartment complex if you're trying to defer massive amounts of capital gains tax. So the key is understand your situation, whether you're doing a huge 1031 exchange, maybe you can pay a little bit more, or if you're getting new into multifamily like myself or a lot of my audience, it doesn't make sense to overpay. So that's why I like to go off market, right? I use PropStream for my data, Yell Letters Complete for my direct mailing campaign. So I can go direct to the owners so that I can either A, negotiate an under market price that makes sense for me, or B, if I'm overpaying for the property, I can use creative financing. I always preach in my creative financing video, your price, my terms. If I'm overpaying for the apartment complex, I better have a low down payment, low interest rates, and good terms so that I can cash flow day one and still have the ability to force appreciation so eventually I can get a new loan on this apartment complex and as well as pull out money on the deal, right? That's what I love about going off market, and that's what I preach, right? Especially as a new investor trying to get into multifamily. Like, lenders don't care if you own 10 duplexes. They want to know that you own apartment complexes because it's a different animal, a different beast, right? So if you bring them a good deal, lenders won't care that you have no experience. That's how I got started. I had no experience, but I brought such a good deal with $250,000 in instant equity day one. The bank felt very safe in the deal and in me as the operator, as someone brand new. So that's why it's key to not overpay for the apartment complex. Moving on to point number two is trusting that your current insurance broker will get you the best price. So, I made this mistake for my 20 unit as well as my 26 unit. So I just used the same insurance broker. I trusted him that he would get me the best price. And to be honest, I was lazy, right? When my insurance was due after the first year, I was busy doing my mobile home park. I was busy doing my 20 unit. So I didn't really shop my 26 unit apartment complex insurance quote around. And the price went up from 19,000 to 22,000, which is $3,000 more. I mean, it's a 15% increase. And I just said, hey, he just kind of said, hey, insurance is more expensive in Oklahoma. There's inflation, there's supply chain issues going on. And he gave very generic responses, which is, not wrong. I get it, but it's kind of generic as well. So I think what happened was maybe my broker got lazy and didn't shop it around multiple um, lenders. He just kind of quoted me the same, carrier that I used prior. I think it was Travelers Insurance. So he just gave me the same quote from Travelers, and it was $3,000 more. I didn't really question it, right? So I just kind of blindly trusted it and said, okay, well, maybe that's just how it is, right? Maybe there was a snowstorm that happened, a hailstorm that happened. So insurance going up, kind of nationwide. So I didn't question it. So I just moved along. And then what happened was on my 20 unit, he gave me another quote. So I was paying $13,000 for it, and he quoted me $19,000. I just said, whoa, this is $6,000 more than my last quote. So that kind of prompted me to start shopping around, right? So I just said, okay, I just copied his email and sent that to another insurance broker. Literally took me 5 minutes to copy the current insurance quote and said, hey, can you beat this insurance quote? I want the same terms, right? So what I teach to my students in my course is you want to get replacement cost insurance. So replacement cost insurance means that if the apartment complex burns to the ground and you get to rebuild from the ground up, what's that going to cost, right? So I bought my 20 unit for $350,000, but if my apartment complex burned to the ground, to rebuild my 20 unit apartment complex to 2023, 2024 standards, that's basically an A-class apartment complex, it's not going to cost me $350,000. It's probably going to cost me closer to $1 to $1.1 million, right? So that's what your replacement cost insurance quote is. So you cover yourself in case there's a grease fire in the kitchen, it burns out all 20 units. If you have replacement cost insurance, you're good. If you have actual cost insurance, you're screwed, right? Actual cost insurance just gets you enough money to pay back your lender, and whatever is left over might be like 100,000 bucks. You only have 100,000 bucks to rebuild your apartment complex, which is nothing, right? With $100,000, you'll probably rebuild a single family home, which is not the best and highest use of that land. So, that's a mistake that I made. So I got another quote, sent the same email. It took me 5 minutes. I got quoted $14,000. That's $5,000 cheaper than his insurance quote. I said, okay, well, let me shop it with this online brokerage, which is called nreig.com or .org. It's an online brokerage where you fill out an application yourself, and then you get a quote. And my quote was $12,000. So I said, okay. So he gave me 19. This other broker gave me 14. And then the online brokerage gave me 12. So the online brokerage literally was $1,000 cheaper than what I paid a year ago. And that just blew my mind. And that saved me $7,000 compared to what he was going to charge me. And that's huge, right? Because the online brokerage, typically it's the cheapest because you have to do all the work yourself, right? You fill out the application, which takes you an hour. And honestly, from the insurance quote that you get from your lender, from the mortgage insurance broker, it shows all the information, like what's the square footage, how old is it, when does the roof need to be replaced, when was the roof last replaced, when was electrical replaced, just basic questions that you should know when you bought the property. It takes you about an hour going slow. And it literally, between sending one email to my other insurance broker, which took me 5 minutes, and about 30 to 60 minutes, call it an hour total, I basically was able to save $7,000, right? I don't make $7,000 an hour, and on a monthly basis, that's about $500 a month. And in Oklahoma, my rents are $500 a month, so I'm literally saving one unit's worth of rent a month. And also on top of that, it affects your net operating income, right? If you can save $7,000 in insurance and raise your NOI by $6,000, you divide that by the cap rate of eight cap. That's huge, right? In terms of the value of the apartment complex, maybe it will raise the value by $50,000 more, right? So That's what happens when you get lazy and you just trust your current insurance broker. And what the reality is, maybe the insurance broker within his network, that's the best that he can do with it. Or maybe he just got lazy and just didn't even shop it around and just use the same carrier. That's the easiest path, right? That's people want the path to least resistance. But when I use the online brokerage, it's what's great about the online brokerage was that not only was it the cheapest, but they don't charge me for financing it on a monthly basis. With the insurance broker, and I think we were using Travelers Insurance. Um, I could finance it, but it was going to cost me about 9 to 12% to finance the insurance, and that's totally worth it versus paying 12, everything up front day one. I'd rather use the cash flow of the apartment complex to pay the monthly insurance cost, right, and kind of leverage your cash flow and delay it. But with the online brokerage at nreig.org or .com, like it was already built in. Like it already had a monthly payment built in that didn't charge me anything extra, right? Like there was really nothing extra into that. So, honestly, my 26 unit is coming due. I'm gonna shop again, right? My current insurance broker is gonna give me his quote. It's probably gonna be the highest. I'm gonna shop it through another insurance broker, and I'm gonna shop it through online. And between all three of them, if he ends up being the best deal, then so be it. I'll go with him. If not, then I'm gonna move with another. With probably the online brokerage is probably gonna be the cheapest because they're online. You're doing the information yourself. You can probably save on some brokerage fee, right? Because you do all the legwork yourself, and they just give you a quote. It's more passive for them, so it's more passive. That you save the cost, right? So it's totally worth it if you can save a couple $1,000s. And that's funny is my current broker said, "Oh, like, are you moving forward with me?" I said, "No, I could get something $7,000 cheaper." And he just said, "Oh, wow. Can you tell me the insurance carrier? I want to stay abreast of the best options." So, he didn't take offense to it. And, honestly, I was being lazy and was maybe afraid of offending my insurance broker because I care about relationships. But hey, like if you're costing me $6,000, $7,000, it's pragmatic. If you give me the best quote, I'll use you. If not, I'm moving forward with someone else. Right. So, key lesson learned. So number three is not setting a deadline for renovations to be completed, right? So I made this mistake on my 26 unit as well as my 20 unit. So my 26 unit, I locked in 4% interest for 10 years. So I'm not under pressure. So I wasn't really giving my property manager, who's also my general contractor in Oklahoma City, a deadline, and he does great quality work, but unfortunately he's just very slow. Like I think he's much slower than my contractor in my 20 unit. That contractor, he costs more, he does great work, but he's fast, right? So you get one or the other. If it's cheap, it's slow. If it's fast, it's more expensive. So what I told him was, okay, hey, you 16 out of 26 units have been renovated. I got 10 remaining. And maybe he's slower because I'm ripping out kitchens and he's doing subcontracting, right? He's subcontracting out to other people. So, you're at the mercy of them versus my 20 unit, he's just a one man show, right? He literally does everything himself. He rips out the kitchen himself, installs the kitchen himself. He does the walls himself, the bathroom himself. The only thing he doesn't do himself is the flooring. But we have a flooring guy that he coordinates with to do the flooring. So literally, he's like a one man stop. So he just works on there by himself. So there's less delays, right? He's literally in that unit for 8 to 12 hours a day, just renovating himself. So maybe that's why he's a little bit faster, and he's kind of the jack of all trades. So I just said, hey, how long is it going to take you to finish renovating these last 10 units? That's not heavy value add, not heavy renovations. No new kitchens. We're just resurfacing everything, touching it up, putting lipstick on a pig. How long will that take you? They said, we can probably finish in September. That's about 4 or 5 months from now. But, they tend to overpromise, underdeliver. So I just said, all right, I'll give you to the end of the year. I'll give you till December. And at that point, if you're still not done, I'm going to bring in my other general contractor for my 20 unit. He does great work. He's not the greatest team player, but he does the job, right? He can finish the work. If not, I'm gonna bring this in to help you guys expedite it. And even despite that, if you still cannot perform, I might have to swap you guys out with another property manager. I don't want to do that, but I have another property manager as a backup. And this is why I always advocate to the people in my mentorship, my course, to always have a backup, right? So you gotta set a deadline, give them a little extra time, and remind them, hey, is this done at this time? Fortunately for them, interest rates are terrible right now, so I don't want to do a cash out refinance anyways. But in maybe in 2024 or 2025, if interest rates start to go down, I'm gonna start pressuring a little more. This one I'm cash flowing very well already, so I haven't really been on them as much because I'm so distracted and busy with my mobile home park where it's all my time and money is going towards. And my 20 unit has a hard money loan due in 1 year. So obviously I'm more on them as well. But once my mobile home park is sold, once my 20 unit is done with the cash out refinance, all my time and attention is going to go to them. And I'm going to start, lighting a fire underneath them so that they move faster. And, I can give them more help and support of another general contractor, right? So mistake to avoid is not setting a deadline for renovations to be completed. Number 4 is only using one lender. This goes back to trusting your current insurance broker. Trusting your current lender will give you the best, rates, right? Whether you're doing a cash out refinance or whether you're buying another apartment complex or another deal, is remember different lenders have different appetites for different type of deals in different time frames. So I used Bank of the West for my 26 unit back in 2021. In 2023, they may not have an appetite for small multifamily deals, right? It's very dynamic, especially now with high interest rates. The lending situation is very dynamic, very fluid. So, best practice, you shop it with multiple mortgage brokers, multiple lenders, and you want to build up your contact list of all these lenders in your market, all these insurance or all these brokers, and shop around. And so be it. If your current lender is the best lender in the best terms, it's the easiest, right? They know you have an existing relationship with them. So that's what I'm leveraging right now for my 20 unit is I'm going to use Bank of the West for my 20 unit, going back and forth. Hopefully I'll get an approval soon, but I'm leveraging my relationship. They know me, they know the market, they know how I operate. So hopefully we can make it work. And they actually have the best terms compared to the local community banks. So do not make the mistake. Always put in that extra work to shop around. Don't be lazy. Don't assume that your current lender will give you the best terms. Number 5 is not communicating with your property manager and general contractor unfrequently. So once again, remind them of your goal and your strategy, right? My 20 unit, hey, hard money loan is due on May 12th. I have to be able to renovate all these units by this time and lease these out by this time. So because of that, I'm willing and a little bit more desperate. I'm more focused on speed, right? If if we have to lower our rent prices from 550 to 525 or 500 and offer a move-in special of $77 a month, I'm fine with that, right? Because I want to get these leased out to show a rent roll of 90% so that a bank will like the deal and give me the cash out refinance, right? Like literally in about 2 weeks, I leased out 4 units at $500 a month, and we had to lower the price a little bit and offered a little move-in special to incentivize them. But because that's my time window, right? But if I have a good long-term interest rate, then maybe I don't need to do the move-in special and just can charge a normal rent, and the demand will be enough, right? So because of that, I communicated with them. They gave me their strategy, and we're all on the same page, right? General contractor, hey, how long does it take you to renovate this unit? He said 2 weeks. Okay, once 2 weeks is done, property manager, go in there, take pictures, and lease the units. Start showing it. All on the same page, right? 26 unit. I didn't really tell them that, hey, my property manager is my general contractor. Hey, like I want to do a cash out refinance, so get this leased up as soon as possible, right? At 16 out of 26, that's not enough. I got to be at 90%, which is 24 out of 26. So I got to lease up about 8 more units, right? And they said, yeah, we can do that by fall of 2023. I'll say, I'll give you to the end of 2023. If not, might need to bring in a new property manager if you don't perform, or another general contractor to help you renovate this out faster, right? Or I can just hire my current property manager to as a leasing agent, and they can come in and bring in additional people, and we pay them a fee, right? That's another strategy that I can use. So key is to be in constant communication with your property manager, general contractor. Problem with me was I was doing 3 heavy value add deals. All my time and attention was going to my mobile home park because I was spending the most money on it. All my time and attention was going to my 20 unit because my hard money loan was due. So as a result, my 26 unit was unfortunately neglected. But like I said, it's cash flowing, so I'm not as worried at this moment. But the moment my mobile park is sold, the moment my 20 unit is done with the hard money loan, all my time and attention is going to my 26 unit, and I'm going to have more eyes on them, right? So the next mistake to avoid is assuming you have cash flow day one, right? So yes, when I underwrite the deals, what I teach in my course, what I teach my students as their mentor is underwrite for 8 to 10% cash on cash return day one. Reality is when you take over the apartment complex, you're going to have maybe 2 to 4 tenants stop paying you rent. you're going to have to evict them or they'll leave before they get evicted. This happened every time, right? This happened in my 26 unit, bought it, 3 people stopped paying me, had to evict them. Now my $2,000 cash flow went out the window because they were paying, $600 each. I just lost 3 tenants. That's 1,800. There goes my cash flow, right? Same with my mobile home park. Took over the park, people left, right? I think I had 3, 4 tenants leave. 20 unit, geez, I had a bed bug infestation. People stopped paying. I went from 15 out of 20 down to 7 out of 20 units. I lost like 8 tenants because they knew that I was going to come in, renovate the units, and they stopped paying, and they weren't the greatest renters anyways. So those are the type of renters that are going to take advantage of the situation, and I don't want them anyways long term, right? My current tenants that I rented out to, they're younger, they're working class, you know, less issues, less complaints, just an overall upgraded tenant base, right? So if you assume that you have cash flow day one, you're not going to have adequate reserves. So if you know, when tenants leave, when renovations cost more, take more time, you're going to need those reserves. That's why it's good to have a lot of cash flow and not doing multiple value add deals like myself, right? Like I'm doing 3 value add deals. I had $200,000 in reserves. I quickly blew through that and had to tap into my lines of credits that I have as my backup to my backup, right? So that's what's also key too is having lines of credits, whether it's a HELOC, personal line of credit against your stock portfolio, because you never know. Like if you blow through your reserves and you need a couple, 50K, 60K, then you get to tap into your line of credits. And I had to do that, right? So that's why it's very important to get as many lines of credits as possible. It's going to trash your debt to income ratio, but hey, it's great for an emergency situation, and you never know when you need that money, right? It's good to have as a plan B. Plan A is good reserves. Plan B is your line of credits. So don't assume that you have cash flow day one. So overall, at a high level, these are the mistakes to avoid. Overpaying for the apartment complex. Number 2, trusting your current insurance broker will get you the best price. Number 3, not setting a deadline for renovations to be completed. Number 4, only using one lender. Number 5, not communicating with your property manager, general contractor frequently. Number 6, assuming you have cash flow day one. Overall, if you found value from this video, please like, comment, subscribe. If you like lecture-based learning, I think you'd find a lot of value from my Making Multifamily Money Mentorship Program. If you're interested, down below, you can check out the description. I have a link to the course and the mentorship, and it has a detailed video as to what to expect from the course, as well as the curriculum. You can also send me an email directly down below or leave a comment, and I can reach out to you. And if you like this style of learning and you like lecture-based, it's a little more organized, you'll find a lot of value from the course. So hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much.